While we wait for that video to be released, Michigan State University recently unveiled a new study looking at how law enforcement can improve trust in our communities. News 10's Bobby Cushing spoke to Mid-Michigan officials close to or involved in law enforcement. He joins us now from the newsroom with that. Bobby?
Yeah, good evening, David. This study is not connected to the Kirby shooting. It just happened to coincide. In it, those researchers found people tend to fear police most when they feel unjustified harm from police is likely. And if it occurs, they fear it would be severe. Researchers say the trust is key between public and law enforcement, and police departments must consistently demonstrate to the public that they can do their jobs appropriately. Public's trust in law enforcement has seen a decrease in recent years. A Gallup poll in 2024 found 51% of people have a great trust in police, 8 points higher than 2023, but lower than any year between 1993 and 2019. Kath Edsall is the vice chair of the East Lansing Police Oversight Commission, but spoke to News 10 outside of her capacity. She says when trust is broken,
it keeps people from calling the police, particularly people who are aware and in tune. And I think it may even keep people from reaching out to the police when they need help.
Chief Rick Grillo with the Meridian Township Police Department says lower trust from communities makes law enforcement's job more challenging as well.
People are more reluctant to share information with you or cooperate with you. That's why we've spent so much time and invested so much energy into developing these relationships.
The study found fearful participants tended to believe it was likely an officer who would harm them, and if they did, the harm would be severe. Grillo says at his department, officers are trained in techniques to ease a situation from the moment they enter the force.
We're constantly training on different ways that officers can de-escalate situations and essentially start off on a good foot.
Now, Chief Grillo says in Meridian Township, each neighborhood has a liaison and a community policing leader who regularly meet to discuss what's happening in an area and ways to improve police service in that area. Live in the newsroom, Bobby Cushing, News 10. David.
All right, Bobby, thank you. Edsall tells News 10 she does not think 16 weeks of instruction is enough to become a police officer. She would like to see new recruits go through more training before they hit the streets.